Right. We'll study about the life events of a scientist. So, at the age of 22, a former scout of the year excited the scientific world with a new theory on how cells work. So, what was his specialty? What was the specialty of Richard Ebright? He gave a new theory to the world of how cells work. So Richard Ebright gave the world a new theory on how cells work. Richard H. Ebright and his college roommate explained the theory in an article in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Science. So Richard Ebright's article was published in a very renowned and famous magazine. The name of the magazine was Proceedings of the National Academy of Science. So Richard Ebright was a very bright, intelligent scientist who gave to the world a new theory on how cells work. And his article was published in a very renowned science journal. The name of the science journal is Proceedings of the National Academy of Science. It was the first time this important scientific journal had ever published the work of college students. So, like this scientific journal, it was a very famous, very prestigious, renowned magazine. So, it did not publish the work of students. At that time, जब रिचर्ड एब्राइट का ये आर्टिकल इस फेमस साइंटिफिक जर्नल में पब्लिश हुआ था, then he was just a student. So this is an achievement that a student's article was published in this famous magazine. It used to publish the article of famous scientists only. So first time this important scientific journal had ever published the work of college students. So what is special about the publishing of the article in this scientific journal? It is special because earlier this scientific journal did not publish any writing of the students. पहली बार इस scientific journal में किसी student का writing publish हुआ. In sports, that would be like making the big leagues at the age of 15 and hitting a home run your first time at bat. So, here the writer is comparing to a batsman. If the batsman for the first time he hits a run, that is an achievement for him. If experienced batsmen make runs, that is a different thing. But a batsman who is new, who is going to the crease on the first time and he hits the run, that is an achievement. Similarly, when Richard Ebright's work was published in a very renowned magazine, it was a achievement for him क्योंकि इस मैगजीन में यूजुअली सिर्फ मशहूर लोगों का आर्टिकल पब्लिश होता था. पहली बार जो है एक स्टूडेंट का आर्टिकल उसमें डाला गया. It in sports, so the writer has compared it to a batsman. It was first in the long string of achievements. So this was Richard Ebright's first achievement. But then there was a string of achievements. Achievements का जो ये रो था वो ख़त्म नहीं हुआ. One after other he kept on achieving more and more things. That is why it is string of achievements. Means many achievements followed this first achievement. First achievement was the publishing of the article in a very famous magazine. After that, there were many achievements in science and other fields, and it all started with butterflies. So he became famous. But how did he begin his journey of a scientist? It began with butterflies. An only child, Ebright grew up north of Reading, Pennsylvania. So Richard Ebright was the only child of his parents. उसके भाई बहन नहीं थे. So he was the only child, and Ebright grew up north of Reading. So where did he live? He lived in the US. He lived in the US at the place called Reading in Pennsylvania. This is the place where he lived. Reading is the name of the place, not the reading. पढ़ने वाला reading नहीं, जगह का नाम है Reading. Pennsylvania. There wasn't much I could do there. So Richard was an only child, and there wasn't much that he could do there. He said, I certainly couldn't play football or baseball. So why he says that he couldn't do much? Because he had no siblings, no brothers, no sisters. So with whom would he play? There was nobody with whom he could play with. So what would he do in his free time? So he started collecting various things in his childhood. So he was an only child. He did not have any brothers or sisters, and he used to live in the place called Reading, Pennsylvania. Because he was an only child, there was no one with whom he could play. There wasn't much I could do there. I certainly couldn't play football or baseball with a team of one. He was the single child, no brothers, no sisters, so he could not play any game. But there was one thing I could do: collect things. So he started taking interest in collecting things. So he did, and did he ever, beginning in kindergarten. तो ये चीज़ें इकट्ठा करने का शौक जो है वो रिचर्ड एब्राइट को कब से लगा? किंडरगार्टन से ही, एकदम बचपन से, जूनियर क्लास. एब्राइट कलेक्टेड बटरफ्लाइज. So he began with collecting butterflies, and this interest in collecting things, it began right from his kindergarten, with the same determination that has marked all his activities. And Richard Ebright is a very determined person. Determined means what? Strong willpower. Yes, determination, दृढ़ निश्चय, strong willpower. So Richard Ebright had a strong willpower right from his childhood. When he was a small child, because he was only child, there was no one with whom he could play. So he started engaging himself in collecting things. So he did, and did he ever? So first he began collecting butterflies with the same determination that has marked all his activities. Means वो जो भी काम करते एकदम strong will power के साथ करते. He used to do everything with strong determination. He also collected rocks, fossils, and coins. So he collected various things: butterflies, rocks, fossils, and coins. He became an eager astronomer too. So besides collecting things, he had other interests also. He was an astronomer, and looking at the sky for hours, that was also one of his favorite pastime. Looking at the skies, gazing all night. पूरी रात वो कभी कभी स्टार्स को देखते रहते थे. एस्ट्रोनॉमी में भी इंटरेस्ट था. So he, right from his childhood, he had interest in collecting things, various things. He began with collecting butterflies. लेकिन बाद में वो और भी चीज़ें इकट्ठा करने लगे, तरह तरह का rocks, fossils, and coins. And Richard Ebright's other interest was in astronomy. He just enjoyed looking at the sky for hours. He used to look at the stars all night. He used to look at the stars. From the first, he had a driving curiosity. So what is one of the essential quality of a scientist? A scientist should have a curious mind, then only he will discover new things. So he had this quality, curiosity, right from his childhood. So from the first, he had a driving curiosity along with a bright mind. So right from his childhood, he had all the qualities of a scientist. A very, very curious mind. He was very eager to know new things, नई जानकारियाँ हासिल करना, और bright mind. Scientists should have a very intelligent brain. So he had curiosity, he had a bright mind. He also had a mother who encouraged his interest in learning. And Richard Ebright's mother also plays a very pivotal role, a very important role in making him a scientist. She encouraged him in all the things in which he had interest. So he also had a mother who encouraged his interest in learning. She took him on trips, bought him telescopes, microscopes, cameras, mounting materials, and other equipment. So Richard Ebright's mother played a very important role in shaping his future, in making him a scientist, because she encouraged his interest in learning. He had a curious mind and she encouraged him in everything that he wanted to learn. And for this, she took him to various trips, to visit various places. She took him on the trips to visit various places. She bought him telescopes. Then she brought him microscopes with which he could observe even the tiny things. Then he brought cameras, mounting materials on which he could keep all the materials, then other equipment, and helped him in many other ways. So Richard Ebright's mother plays a very important role in his life. I was his only companion. So this line is spoken by his mother. Mother says that I was his only companion. बचपन में जो है, जब तक वो स्कूल नहीं जाते थे तो कौन दोस्त था उनका? ओनली चाइल्ड थे वो. तो mother was his only friend. So mother's this line is said by his mother. I was his only companion until he started school. His mother said, after that I would bring home friends for him. So mother understood that Ebright would feel lonely because he was the single child. So she would bring friends for him to the house. I would bring home friends for him, but at night we just did things together. And Richard Ebright's mother did things with him. Whatever he enjoyed doing, she also engaged herself in that work. But at night we just did things together. So mother was his friend. She did everything that he liked to do. Richie was my whole life. So Richie is his nickname. Richard, so mother calls him Richie. So she says Richie was my whole life. So because she had only son, so her whole life revolved around her son only. Richie was my whole life after his father died, and she was a widow. Richard's father had died when he was in the third grade. Richard's father had died when he was in the third class. So mother's whole life revolved only around her only son, that is Richard Ebright, and she involved herself in all the activities that Richard did. She and her son spent almost every evening at the dining room table. If he didn't have things to do, I found work for him. कभी कभी ऐसा भी होता था that Richard used to get very bored. He did not have anything to do. Then mother found work for him. Work means not doing the household chores. Work means something fruitful, not physical work. So when Richard had nothing to do, mother found work for him, not the physical work, but learning things. So Richard's mother encouraged him to learn new things. His mother said he liked it, he wanted to learn, and as we know, he had a curious mind right from the beginning. जिज्ञासा जो था उनके मन में बचपन से ही था. He wanted to learn, and learn he did. He earned top grades in school. So Richard had a very good interest in learning things. वो ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा चीज़ों को सीखना चाहते थे बचपन से ही. So and learn he did. He earned top grades in school. So Richard was also a very good student. He used to get very good marks in school, top grades. In school, Richard got very top grades. On everyday things, he was just like every other kid. And in doing normal things, he was just like any other child, his mother said. By the time he was in the second grade, Ebright had collected all 25 species of butterflies found around his hometown. So when Ebright was in the second grade, when he was in the second class, at that time he had already collected 25 different kinds of butterflies. So he had already collected 25 species of butterflies found around his hometown. So in the book you can see the different species of butterflies. अलग अलग स्पीशी ऑफ बटरफ्लाई का नाम भी दिया हुआ है. White hair streak, eyed brown wood nymph, monarch or milkweed, Harris checkers post, pearl crescent, morning cloak. All these are the names of the different species of butterflies that Ebright collected. और ये सारे butterflies, from where did he collect all these butterflies? From the nearby area where he lived. आसपास के एरिया में जितने भी तरह के butterflies मिले, एब्राइट ने सारा कलेक्ट कर लिया और पूरा मिलके 25 स्पीशीज बटरफ्लाइज ही कलेक्टेड. सो वी नो राइट फ्रॉम हिज चाइल्डहुड, because he was the single child of his parents, he could not play games, so he involved himself in collecting various kinds of things. What are the things that Ebright collected in his childhood? Apart from the butterflies, he collected other things also. 4 things are mentioned. You are just not listening and distracting others also. Yes, no, don't look back. Okay, sit down. So, and collected 25 species of butterflies. He collected 4 things, rocks, fossils, coins and butterflies. You did not give the answer, that means you were not attentive. So that probably would have been the end of my butterfly collecting, he said. But then my mother got me a children's book called The Travels of Monarch X. So when he was in class 2, Richard Ebright had already collected 25 different kinds of butterflies. And these butterflies he collected from the area nearby from where he lived. And that probably would have been the end of his butterfly collecting. But then his mother gifted him a children's book. The name of the book was The Travels of Monarch X. माँ ने एब्राइट को एक बुक गिफ्ट किया और उस बुक का नाम था द ट्रैवल्स ऑफ मोनार्क एक्स. The book which told how monarch butterflies migrate to Central America opened the world of science to the eager young collector. So here the eager young collector is Richard Ebright. Mother gifted him this book, and this book was on the migration of the monarch butterflies. Even the butterflies migrate. Just as birds migrate, even butterflies migrate. And this book, The Travels of Monarch X, it was about the migration of the monarch butterflies. How monarch butterflies migrate to Central America. The monarch butterflies migrate to Central America because they find the climatic conditions over there to be the most favorable for them. At the end of the book, readers were invited to help study butterfly migrations. So this book was about the migration of the butterfly, and at the end of the book, the readers were invited to help study butterfly migrations. They were asked to tag butterflies for research by Dr. Frederick A. Urquhart of the University of Toronto, Canada. So they were asked at the end of the book, the readers were invited to help study butterfly migrations. And how would the readers study the butterfly migrations? वो लोग हर बटरफ्लाई पे जो भी बटरफ्लाई रीडर्स को मिलता उस पे वो एक टैग चिपका देते. So this will help them to know that this particular species of butterfly has migrated from this place to the other. So here at the end of the book, The Travels of Monarch X, at the end of this book, the readers were also invited to help study the butterfly migrations. They were told to tag the butterflies. They were asked to tag butterflies for research. And who was doing the research on the butterflies? Dr. Frederick A. Urquhart. The name is a bit difficult. Frederick A. Urquhart, and he was a professor at the University of Toronto, Canada. Ebright's mother wrote to Dr. Urquhart, and soon Ebright was attaching light adhesive tags. Adhesive tags means tags which stick. Adhesive. Adhesive means what? Gum. हाँ, तो रिचर्ड एब्राइट ने भी ये पूरा बुक पढ़ लिया. अब बुक के एंड में रीडर्स को क्या करना था? बटरफ्लाई माइग्रेशन को और ज़्यादा स्टडी करना था. तो रिचर्ड एब्राइट ऑलरेडी हैड इंटरेस्ट इन बटरफ्लाइज, so he started pasting tags on the wings of the butterfly, adhesive tags to the wings of monarchs. So he specially was interested in monarch butterfly. So he started pasting the tags on the wings of the monarch butterflies. Anyone who found a tagged butterfly was asked to send the tag to Dr. Urquhart, and it was informed to everyone that if anybody found this tagged butterfly, he was supposed to send it to the professor who was researching on the butterflies, Dr. Urquhart, Frederick A. Urquhart. The butterfly collecting season around reading lasts 6 weeks in late summer. So you cannot collect butterflies throughout the year. हाँ, इन पर्टिकुलर सीज़न. तो बटरफ्लाई कलेक्टिंग सीज़न जो है वो सिर्फ 6 वीक्स का होता है. उसी समय जो है आप कलेक्ट कर सकते हैं. इट लास्टेड इन रीडिंग इन दैट प्लेस जहाँ वो एब्राइट रहा करते थे, रीडिंग पेनिसिल्वेनिया. इन दैट प्लेस दैट सीज़न लास्टेड फॉर 6 वीक्स इन लेट समर, and the butterfly collecting season was in late summer for 6 weeks. If you are going to chase them one by one, you won't catch very many. So period is limited, and catching butterflies is also difficult. Butterfly को catch करके उस पर tag चिपकाना, it's not an easy task. Butterflies are clever than human beings. You go near them and they will sense and fly away, isn't it? Have you tried catching butterflies? पकड़ना आसान नहीं होता है. वो जैसे ही एकदम उंगली पास जाएगा कि वो फट से उड़ जाते हैं. तो रिचर्ड के लिए ये बहुत मुश्किल काम था कि एक एक बटरफ्लाई को पकड़ के और ये टैग चिपकाना. बहुत ज़्यादा वो पकड़ नहीं पाते थे. If you are going to chase them one by one, you won't catch very many. So the next step for Ebright was to raise a flock of butterflies. So what did Ebright decide? अब बटरफ्लाई पकड़ना जो है आसपास के एरिया से उनके लिए मुश्किल हो रहा था. तो उनके दिमाग में एक दूसरा आइडिया आया कि क्यों नहीं अपने ही घर में बहुत सारे बटरफ्लाइज को रेज करें. सो he got a new idea. Catching butterflies is a very tedious task, difficult task. Why not raise butterflies in my own house? So raise a flock of butterflies. He would catch a female monarch, take her eggs and raise them in his basement. तो उनका बेसमेंट था, अंडरग्राउंड घर. उसमें उन्होंने क्या किया? He caught the female monarch butterfly. He would catch a female monarch, take her eggs. He would catch the female monarch, and then he would collect all the eggs given by the female monarch, and then he would put those eggs in the basement. He would care for those eggs. बेसमेंट में उसको रख देते थे. Through their life cycle. So what is the life cycle of the butterfly? Have you learnt in your bio? एग से निकलता है कैटरपिलर, कैटरपिलर बनता है प्यूपा, और प्यूपा से बनता है एडल्ट बटरफ्लाई. सो all this cycle was completed in the basement of Ebright. So what he did, when catching butterflies became very difficult for him, क्योंकि पीरियड भी लिमिटेड था बटरफ्लाई पकड़ने का, और इट वाज डिफ़िकल्ट जॉब आल्सो. सो हाँ, yes, so he caught monarch butterfly. Monarch फीमेल monarch butterfly ही एग देती थी. monarch उनका बटरफ्लाई उनका स्पेशल था जिस पे वो रिसर्च कर रहे थे. माँ ने जो बुक दिया था ट्रैवल्स ऑफ मोनार्क एक्स, तो मोनार्क बटरफ्लाई पे वो कंसंट्रेट कर रहे थे पर्टिकुलर स्पीशीज़ पे. तो ही caught a monarch female butterfly and then he collected all the eggs and he started raising the eggs in the basement. Then he would tag the butterflies, then he would put the adhesive tags on the butterflies and let them go. उसके बाद वो उसको छोड़ देते थे कि कहाँ वो जाता है. For several years his basement was home to thousands of monarchs. So for many years this activity continued. So his basement became the home of thousands of monarchs in different stages of development. And if you go to his basement you would find the butterflies in different stages of development. जो पहले रखा हुआ एग था हो सकता है उससे प्यूपा डेवलप हो गया हो, जो बाद में रखा हो उससे कैटरपिलर हो. तो इफ़ यू एंटर्ड द बेसमेंट ऑफ रिचर्ड एब्राइट यू वुड फाइंड द बटरफ्लाइज इन डिफरेंट स्टेजेस of development. Thousands of so his basement became the home of thousands of butterflies. So here also you are given the name of different butterflies: gossamer winged butterfly, wood nymph and satyrs, brush footed butterflies, whites and sulphurs, monarch, snout. ये अलग अलग स्पीशीज़ के बटरफ्लाइज हैं, काइंड्स ऑफ बटरफ्लाइज जो which Ebright collected. Eventually I began to lose interest in tagging butterflies. So gradually Richard Ebright lost interest in this work. ये काम अब उनको बहुत ज़्यादा अच्छा नहीं लग रहा था. lose interest. It is tedious and there is not much feedback. अब बटरफ्लाई ही है, उसको ट्रैक करना बहुत मुश्किल काम है. तो बटरफ्लाई he could not get much feedback. This work was not very fruitful. जितना मेहनत उनको लग रहा था, the amount of labor he was putting in this work, research on butterflies, was not getting as much result. So he started losing interest in this work because he was working hard, raising so many butterflies, but result was not that much. So he started losing interest. It is tedious. So why he left this interest in tagging butterflies? So one reason was that it was very tedious task, difficult, and there was not much feedback. Result was not as good as he expected. Much feedback. Ebright said, in all the time I did it, he laughed, only 2 butterflies I tagged were recaptured. इतना मेहनत किया और कितना का रिजल्ट पता चला 2 बटरफ्लाई का. तो नेचुरली इट वॉज नॉट वर्थ द लेबर, it was not worth it. So only 2 butterflies were recaptured and they were not more than 75 miles from where I lived. So Richard Ebright started losing interest in this research on monarch butterflies. Then in the 7th grade he got a hint of what real science is. So now Richard has entered the 7th grade, 7th class. He got a hint of what real science is. So in 7th class, what did he come to know? He came to know what real science is when he entered a country science fair. Real science के बारे में उन्हें कब पता चला? Yes, in 7th grade, when he entered a country science fair. Science fair means science exhibition. So when he entered the science exhibition and he saw the displays, then he understood what was real science.